Happy New Year! I know we're a few days into January already, but I haven't said it yet as this is our first proper walk of the year. And this is one which is always quite memorable. It sets the stonework boundaries for all of the adventures to come in the next year. For my first walk of 2025, it's a bit random, but I simply just want to discover some of the old railway stations around Bow in the East End of London. I'm starting an even more random place, Devons Road DLR station, which feels like one that outside of locals in the area, Londoners probably don't really know or have really come to before. This is an original DLR station from 1987 though, and you can tell from the blue and red colour scheme and the curved sheltered area. As it's an urban London walk today, I'm going to pass through and tick off a lot of green spaces in London, but I won't feature all of them because they won't be of much interest. But I will point out that this one here is Rounton Park. I'm just looping around back to Devons Road DLR station. Not far from Devons Road you have Bromley-by-Bow station on the District and Hammersmith and City lines, which clearly has quite a new station building which opened in 2018. Therefore it's quite depressing to see just how bad of a state it's already in. Doesn't help that it also backs out onto this noisy road, a Blackwall Tunnel approach road. I remember a few years ago when they were constructing the new station building, on the other side of the road here there were just abandoned buildings. Clearly London has grown since then with new apartment blocks. And the fun fact about Bromley-by-Bow station is that in EastEnders, the fictional Walford East station replaces Bromley-by-Bow. I don't want to stand here any longer. I'm just about to enter Bromley Recreation Ground, and I noticed this lamppost here has strangely wide base, and I noticed at the bottom of it that it mentions Poplar Borough Council. We're now in Tower Hamlets. That is an old borough name, one that I've not come across before. As well as old borough signs, something else to look out for whilst walking the streets of London are these stink pipes, which will indicate that a sewer is running beneath our feet here, which is possibly even an old river that would have once run on the surface. That's an intriguing gateway into this park here. St Leonard's Priory Park. Must be an old church then, surely, no? Aha, we love a good information board. Gives us everything that we need to know. It was a church that got bombed during World War II, beyond repair and demolished. There's a picture of the Blackwall Tunnel approach road being constructed, by the way. There's the actual church. Oh yeah, there are still some old graves dotted about in the old churchyard here too. Well, that's a neat little green space tucked away at the top of Bromley High Street, which is not one of the most bustling high streets in London. I mean, especially compared to the approach road, which is just over there. Old Brewery Road kind of gives the game away, isn't it, of what this used to be. I also saw a sign earlier for St Andrew's Hospital, which I don't think exists. That must be a new development around Bromley-by-Bow. But Old Brewery Road has brought me out to Bow Church, which is weirdly situated in the middle of a traffic island. What's even stranger about Bow Church though is the mismatched tower which it has, and that is because this was also bombed during World War II, so the top of the tower had to be rebuilt afterwards, but weirdly not in the same style as the bottom half. On the traffic island that encapsulates Bow Church also stands a statue of Prime Minister William Ewart Gladstone, which you might realise up there, he's been caught red-handed. I believe the story behind it is that Gladstone wanted to introduce a tax on matches, and there was a factory nearby which produced them, so naturally they protested that idea. They did win, and the taxes on matches didn't come, but when they made a statue of Gladstone, a man called Thomas Bryant believed to have taken a shilling out of the workers of the factory to pay for the statue. That led to them, allegedly, and it's a little bit gruesome, cutting their own arm and dropping the blood on the hands of the statue, because essentially their blood went into making the statue because it came out of their pay. and ever since, people have kind of kept up to tradition of painting the statue's hands red. Oh, by the way, you may have heard of the Bow Bells, which if you were born within the sound of, you're a true Cockney. But it does not refer to Bow Church here, but instead St Mary le Bow in the city of London. Interesting, there's a pub here called the Bow Bells, even though, as I said, it's not the Bow Bells. Thanks, Laurie. Across from Bow Church, I'm going to be taking this alleyway, which will lead me into Grove Hall Park. And brilliantly in Grove Hall Park, there's an information board which doesn't tell the same story, but one that happened in the same factory, the Matchgirls Strike of 1888. You've got Bow Bus Garage here, which I remember coming to very early when I was doing all of the routes on Route 8, which terminates here. But you also have the 205, which terminates at Bow Church, which is the London bus that stops at the most stations on its route from here to Paddington. Now, I didn't know this was here, but I just saw it on the plaque in Grove Hall Park. But you can actually still see the site of the Matchworks factory here at Bow Quarter. And there's even a blue plaque to mark the occasion of the strike. And mentioning Bow Church, there is also a Bow Church DLR station, one stop up from Devons Road where we started. A lot of the DLR actually uses alignment of old railway lines, so across the road from Bow Church station you'll come across the site of one of these old stations, one that was simply just called Bow. Remains of Bow station can also be seen if you come down the side road beside the railway, or if you're passing through on a train, of course. Bow is not the only old station in these parts. A little ways along you have a Bow Road old station, which, if I head back a bit, it's a William Hill today, but it definitely has the look of an old station building, doesn't it? This station sat on the Bow Curve, which links Stratford and Fenchurch Street together, something a very rare limited amount of trains do today. I think even replaced an earlier station which was over there that was known as Bow and Bromley. Of course, there still is a Bow Road station today on the District and Hammersmith and City lines, one stop up from Bromley-by-Bow. So despite there being two old stations in these parts, this part of London is still very well connected. We're back with the DLR as it's heading towards Stratford now, and I've come into a little kind of dog training area at the back of an estate, because you will see as it starts to curve away, the old railway line would have actually carried on straight and would have connected up with what is now the Mildmay line out of Stratford, just after Hackney Wick, at a station called Victoria Park. And there's a significant gap underneath that bridge and a cutting of where the railway line would have ran. Now that I've made it underneath the railway line out of Liverpool Street that serves Stratford, you can see how the old railway line used to do the same thing. As there's another bridge here. Aha! Bridge! Bridge! Old railway, bridge. Very insightful commentary. I actually forgot all about the Roman road here. There's a market down these roads sometimes. Just about spot the gherkin down there too. The next station up from Bow Road would have been Old Ford. And yeah, well, this is kind of it. There's nothing really to see here at all. And we're back beside the A12 road, because of course we are, the one which becomes the Blackwall Tunnel. And you can see a significant space to the left of it here, which is where the railway line would have ran up towards Victoria Park. Now, the road itself has basically obliterated all remains of Victoria Park station, but when you're travelling along the Mildmay line just before Hackney Wick, you can kind of tell where the railway line would have once split off of it. That's a short but sweet old railway line in London which I've not explored before, that was in operation from 1850 to 1944, though I think it survived for freight after that for a while, and Old Ford Station beside me here would have opened later in 1867. Hey, I spy another Poplar Borough Council sign. Right, I'm actually going to head along Old Ford Road now itself. There's a Borough of Poplar boundary sign on the side of this old pub here. We're back now by the railway line that runs between Liverpool Street and Stratford, where trains are on express with no intermediate stations. But there used to be ones like Globe Road and Devonshire Street, or here, Coborn Road, where there's very clearly an entrance into the old station. Some of these stations closed when the Central Line got extended east, as that basically swallowed up the catchment area and all of the passengers that would have previously used these stations. Tredegar Square here is unexpectedly delightful. It reminds me of a posh private square that you get in central London. I wasn't going to film through here, but I guess I'm going to cut through here to find a culprit of what closed down Coborn Road Station. Mile End Station on the eastern extension of the Central Line, also District and Hammersmith and City Lines, one stop from Bow Road. So named because it's a mile from the edge of the City of London. That's actually false, it's closer to 2 miles. I've always liked that there's a London transport roundel that predates Transport for London as it's now known. Oh, I can feel the trains underneath my feet. It is also the only station underground where a deep level tube line, the Central, is on the same level as a subsurface tube line, the District and HNC. Mile End is a great place to come to if you want to visit Tower Hamlets Cemetery Park, which is one of the magnificent 7 cemeteries in London. We visited one of the 7 before at West Norwood in one of my videos, and I mentioned then that I had one left which I had not been to. This isn't it. Funnily enough, I've come to Tower Hamlets Cemetery before on my first walk in 2021, which I can't believe was 4 years ago. That started back at Bow Road and headed into the City of London, where I also went to see some disused stations like Shoreditch on the East London Line and King William Street. And I believe out of the 7, this is the only one which is technically called a cemetery park. I remember when I came here before, I didn't know what the magnificent cemeteries were. I didn't know that this was one of them. But I like that my first walk of 2025 is tying in with my first walk from 2021. I always enjoy my walks around the magnificent 7 cemeteries, but I kind of only really glossed over this one when I came here before, around the outskirts. So it's nice this time to head in more to the centre of it. Just seeing all the old graves almost being reclaimed by nature as well it's just quite fascinating, really. You know what, I can see why this one is called a cemetery park, because I've come away from the graves and now it just feels like I'm doing a bit of a woodland walk. Like I wouldn't think, looking this way, this is a cemetery at all. There's a delightful walk across Tower Hamlets Cemetery Park, but I've left it and moved on up now to the canal, the Limehouse Cut, which is a direct straight mile-long canal from the end of the Regent's Canal at Limehouse Basin all the way up to the kind of mess of rivers that make up the Bowback rivers around 3 Mills. I remember walking along this stretch of the canal, I don't even know how many years ago now, quite a few, 6 or so. I've got to be on the other side of the towpath. I'm just going to go up to that bridge, and then I'm just simply going to walk along up to the next bridge. So we've got a nice bit of canal action here. Love a good London canal walk, even if it is just for a small section. Get to see some old mills and warehouse buildings as well. But if we take these steps up now, we'll be heading over to DLR. So we are now south of where we started at Devons Road Station, which wasn't an original station when this was an old railway line before the DLR came along. What would have been an old station is where a DLR station isn't today, and that is here, a station called South Bromley, which would have got quite confusing today with Bromley South, of course, in southeast London. Just south of South Bromley-by-Bow you do have a DLR station called Langdon Park, which doesn't look like it's an original one, does it, from 1987, despite being on the same branch. Well, this one did open later in 2007 to serve, well, some of the new apartments which got built around here. Coming up to the end of the walk now, we're passing through our last green space, Bartlett Park, which offers a great view towards Canary Wharf over there. I'd like to go over there soon and do a walk around it. And our first walk of the year ends at Westbury Station. Well, that was an enjoyable first walk of 2025. Particularly liked the Cemetery Park and the canal stretch, but we went to a lot of disused stations today as well. I'm only really scratching the surface of stations in the East End, because we're on a different DLR branch now at Westbury. I think there was a West India Docks just up there. I think back that way there was a different Limehouse station which I've been to before. There's a little bit there to see of the old station, and I've used 2 DLR stations which I've only ever used once, and that was just to tick them off, and that was like a decade ago. Well, we've got another year of adventures ahead of us, so subscribe if you'd like to see more.
This is Devons Road.
Somebody really doesn't like the D8 bus at all.